All right, my only problem is it didn't say this meeting was recorded, so I don't know if we can hear. No, but we can't hear, I'm saying. Can you hear?
And I don't see them.
This is what the council needs.
Yeah, allergies have had, that was us last week. And had to get antibiotics because it caused stupid. Yeah. Getting you bad.
Yeah,
So he's like, oh, what happened?
It's
there?
been
Like,
bad.
it just came out of nowhere again.
It's been bad.
Prednisone, the antibiotics.
It just came out of nowhere today.
Yeah. And I'm not have to take singular again on top of my
Oh,
regular.
no. So I went to the farmer's market in Teaneck and bought a big thing of honey, because they say if you use local honey, it'll cancel out. It's the truth.
Ready? We're all ready? That's a yes, Kennedy?
I'm ready.
We're live. I'd like to call the work action meeting of the Bogota Board of Education to order for Tuesday, May 9th, 2023. Please stand for the flag salute.
But to the flag of the United States of America. Republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The New Jersey Open Publics Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of the public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Bogota Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Bogota Borough Hall, communicated by letter to the record, filed with the clerk of the Borough of Bogota, and posted on the Bogota Board of Education website. Irfan, roll call.
Mrs. Alvarez,
Present.
Mr. Alvarez absent, Mr. Chavez,
Present.
Mrs. Cruz,
Present.
Mr. Navarro,
Here.
Mrs. Olivo,
Present.
Mr. Ortega,
Present.
Mr. Racket,
Present.
Mr. Miranda.
Present.
We have the form.
Also present is Damian Kennedy. Student Council Representative is absent today. Board Attorney William Sukis, School Business Administrator Secretary Irfan Efsil, and Assistant Board Secretary Elizabeth Ruiz. I am moving on to section 2.1, hearing on citizens on agenda items only. Is there a motion to have hearing, open the floor to hearing on citizens on agenda items only?
Motion?
Mr. Chavez,
Second.
Mrs. Ruckett, any board discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there any member of the public? Please state your name or address. Topics of agendas only. You have 5 minutes. Kennedy, any hands? Do I have a motion to close hearing on from citizens on agenda items only?
Olivo?
Ms. Olivo, do I have a second?
Rivera.
Rocket, thank you very much. Any board discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on to 3.1, Superintendent's Report, Mr. Kennedy.
Okay, got a couple things for you. First, NJSLA testing is underway. Over the next 3 weeks, students in grades 3 through 9 will be testing in ELA and math, followed by science for grades 5th, 8th, and 11th. After consulting with the Bogota Police Department, the district will be open on election day. We will run a single session schedule. The feeling is that with the class 3 in the office, with the class 3 officers, we can station them strategically and prevent anyone from wandering around the building. So I did speak to the chief and to the captain. They have a plan set up in place. We used to be open on election day when we didn't have the class 3s, but now that we have them, they feel very comfortable and that we will be safe. Bogota Middle School is having an open house on Thursday night for future 6th graders with their parents and families. That's already been sent out to those specific students. Also, we are in the works for creating a district-wide multicultural night on June 2nd. So more information, but we have about 20 volunteers so far, and we've been talking about that. And then in June, we are looking to have a big referendum update meeting with our architects so that we can share what is going on with the referendum to the community. Also updating our website with all that information and any videos if anyone cannot make it live that night. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Moving on to section 4.3, which covers 4.1 and 4.2. Includes the minutes of April 18th work and action meeting and April 25th regular meeting open session. Are there any board comments or corrections? Moving on to 5.1, which covers the policy section of the agenda. Approval of various board policies and regulations. Is there any board comments on policies or regulations? Moving on to section 5.2, which covers the approval of abolishment of policy 9100 and regulation 9140. Is there any board comment on this matter? Moving on to 6.8, resolution of the education section of the portion of the agenda. Approval of item 6.1 through 6.7. Is there any board comments or suggestions? Moving on to 7.12 of the resolutions on personnel section of the agenda, which is for approval of agenda item 7.1 through 7.11. Is there any board comments or suggestions? Moving on to 8.12 on the finance section of the agenda, approval items 8.1 through 8.11. Is there any board comments or suggestions? Moving on to 9.1 on the agenda item, we can move, there's nothing here. We are moving on to 10.7 on action items, which is approval for agenda items 10.1 through 10.6. Is there any motion? Is there a motion to approve agenda items 10.7?
Motion?
Mrs. Cruz, do I have a second?
Chavez.
Mr. Chavez, any board discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ooh, I'm sorry.
The work action, that's next.
Oh, it's next week.
That's next week.
These are action items.
Oh, yeah, I wrote it down too. Action item 10.7. Okay, roll call, Mr. Irfan. That was a motion by Chavez and a second by, I'm sorry, motion by Cruz and a second by Chavez.
I have
Yeah.
a question. What happens if we don't approve tenure?
If you don't approve tenure, they don't get tenure, they lose their job. There's a. Right. Okay, so that's why, so tonight, so by May 15th is when you have to.
Decide.
Make a decision, sorry. By May 15th is the date that if they are not rehired or released, that they automatically are rehired.
Mhm.
That's why tonight we have those action items.
Okay, I just was curious.
I think her question wasn't answered. What happens if you don't tenure?
If you don't rehire them, then they would lose their job and they would not be rehired.
Timeframe, is it that?
Right, there's a statutory timeframe, which Mr. Kennedy advised of, because this is certain positions within the district, that's May 15th. If you don't approve it today, the person automatically gets tenure on that day, May 15th, and our next meeting is the 16th, so.
And then do we do this every year? So do these
So
come back up next year? as
no,
well?
so how it works is these teachers right now are in their 4th year. So if they are brought back for their 5th year on the first day, they would receive tenure. So like right now, if you see, there's tenured, that means they are still not, that means they are in their
Just hiring
1st
them
through
again.
3.
So if you hire them again, the ones who are the 4th year, it's like an automatic,
It's on, yeah,
you basically intended to
Okay.
tenure them.
Understood.
And no offense to anyone, I guess that when, I try to go by, if you have a question, let's get
Well,
it
that's the
answered.
point of this meeting. right? We do
Absolutely.
it so that
I
we-
agree, I agree.
All right, we can vote. I just wanted to.
No, perfect. I was just, that's a good one.
Mrs. Alvarez,
Yes.
Mr. Chavez,
Yes.
Mrs. Cruz,
Yes.
Mr. Navarro,
Yes.
Mrs. Olivo,
Yes.
Mr. Ortega,
Yes.
Mrs. Rackett,
Yes.
Mr. Miranda.
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you. Moving on to 11.1 committee reports. Are there any committee reports this evening?
Yes. I have one for the library, just 3 points. They wanted me to reiterate about the Friends of Bogota Library is hosting the pub night fundraiser at the 101 Club. The next one's coming up is May 8th, May 15th, and May 22nd. Any further?
What is that, a fundraiser?
That is a fundraiser that's 10% of the bill will be donated to the Friends of the Library
There was one
fundraiser.
recently held, I believe.
Yes, there was one recently held. That's where they started it, but they have 3 more additional dates.
Nice.
Ask them to send it. I just got a few invitations. It would be great to get invitations.
I think that's posted on the school's website. I believe it was that. I'm not too sure. what
I
was
don't
there.
think it's posted on the school.
It is on the library website. Oh, it is on the library website.
Yeah, they're not part of our
Okay,
jurisdiction.
but the 10% of the bill basically goes as donation for them.
Nice.
Nice. good
I
work.
just, it would be nice to get an invitation.
And there's also a Field Dinosaurs event with the combination of the Bogota Rec and the Bogota Library. It's gonna be at Alton Park on June 21st at 2 p.m. Something for the kids can go.
Nice.
And last one is they're kicking up a summer reading at the library, which is going to begin on June 10th. That is it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, Buildings and Ground just met ahead of this meeting to go over what the architect has given us in terms of their initial schedule of events in terms of the referendum items. The committee reviewed it with Mr. Kennedy. We shared some challenge that we'd like to give pushback on some of those, the timeline. So Mr. Kennedy will share our feedback with them, and they will come to our last meeting to discuss with us what the actual timeline will be. Basically, what they have laid out is pretty much what is standard for how they do business, but we'd like to put challenges up against some of that timeline.
So we're working.
But we're working.
And that's gonna, they'll be here at the same time that you were saying that we're gonna provide referendum updates to the
Yeah.
community.
Yep.
Okay.
I believe, Mr. Kennedy, once those challenges are reviewed and if they're within the sustainable parameters, they'll start being posted in the website so that at every interval what'll happen.
That's our goal, right? Like they
Yeah.
gave us something really broad and we'd like them to tighten it
Yeah.
so that we can begin to educate the public on the website. This is project 1, this is project whatever, and this is its timeline. Again, what we got was kind of standard issue architect, timelines, and we'd like to put a little pressure on tightening some of those. Not all of them, obviously, some they will have no control over, but where we can, we'd like to see if they have the ability to contract some of those dates.
Correct. Thank you,
Sure.
BC. Kennedy, cover on BC, it would be great to, if we have some high schoolers that do videography, it would be nice. I guess I'm assuming they have to put in hours as well. So if they can videotape some of the process and we could show it, let's be a little different while we have this first opportunity to show it off to our community.
I know in the past, in some of these projects that we do, they put like a time lapse camera up so that you can.
That would be
Nice.
great.
Yeah, just so like we can show it and
Right,
it
and then-
look cool. Let people,
Right.
people need to be involved one way or another.
And we can that's really valuable information on the website, right?
Yep.
For folks who don't have students, who aren't getting updated as to what's going on in their building. We invited them here to talk to them about it, and we really just want to provide a single place where we can say, everything we're doing, you're gonna be able to find it here. Unless you want to come up and ask us, but you can always find it here.
Correct. Moving on, anyone else? Moving on to section 12.1, old business. Is there any old business? I don't believe so. Any new business on 13.1? I want to go to section 14.1, hearing of the public on any discussion. Is there a motion to open the floor to hearing of citizens?
Motion, John.
Mr. Ortega, do I have a second, Chavez? That was you?
Yes, that was me.
Thank you. Is there any board discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Is there any member of the public who would like to speak on any items or any discussion? Speaker, please state your name and street address. You have 5 minutes. Antoinette, how are you? Welcome.
Use the microphone. Yes, please.
I don't think she needs it.
No, for the public, it's not for us.
Antoinette Ramirez, 98 Queen Anne Road. I just had one quick question tonight. I have a sixth grader, I have an 11th grader. My question is, how come all grades don't have a field trip? Probably more disappointment with the sixth grader than the 11th grader, but I'd like to know why it's not across the board, that there's something for every grade. I mean, these kids worked hard. This is something fun to look forward to. I know it's not easy to put together a field trip. I know it's a lot of work. But I don't understand why every grade can't, have something like this to look forward to. So that's my question. Thank you.
So I would say that's probably a building principal question first, because I don't mandate or tell them they can't go. We usually approve all field trips. So I would assume it has to, I don't even want to assume. I don't know why some do and some don't. So I guess you could, reach out and ask. I'll do my digging, but let me see what you hear and then I'll see what I hear and we'll compare notes.
Why, because I did bring this up back when Jones was still here in 8th grade. I just don't understand why it's not across, like something. The Board of Ed would say, to make every effort to do this. But, at this point, my daughter's in 11th grade, but, it's like, no, mom, there's no trip. Unless you're in band and you have something special, or you're in this, you have something special, it's God bless them. They want to have that trip. They deserve it. I'm not trying to take anything away. But also have something for all those other kids who did work hard and deserve it. So that's why I'm coming to you, because I just would love to see it be something across the board. And if there's extenuating circumstances or some children, maybe they can't take on a trip, then we deal with that handful separately. But to deny everyone just hurts a bit. So that's why I wanted to bring it to the board.
I would add to that, I think there's also something to bring to your PTOs as well.
That's,
Because like Mr. Kennedy said, typically, we have yet to deny a field trip that shows up on this agenda. So maybe take it to the PTO to recommend to them as something that they should want to discuss with the, their teaching organization and the principal, right? Like, what can we do, even if it isn't a trip? Can we do something for those children who wouldn't otherwise get something?
This high school, like this is it, 29 more days, like, I just need to see everyone not having something.
Mhm.
No matter what it is, even if I can help with someone, just having something to celebrate at the end of the year. It's not my first time talking about it. That's why, while I still have 2 kids, I'm just thinking I can try again. Let's see, but if there's anybody I can help.
so Mr. Thank you. Mr. Kennedy, that's not part of our policy making, so if you care to look into it, it's a building level thing.
I'll ask the principals. I don't know what the answer is. I do know field trips are expensive. I know busing alone, to get a bus for 100 kids per grade, we're probably talking between, Irfan, am I incorrect to say $5,000 just in busing to go anywhere for 100 kids? Yeah, no, for a field trip for 1 grade.
Can say around $50 per hour.
So I do know it's very, very expensive, so I personally wouldn't ask a family right now for a field trip for $250 to go somewhere. But again, let me look into it and see what it is, because I don't know what the exact answer is. So I'll find out.
Yeah, good luck. Listen, I went on a field trip in the middle school and you get 4 parent volunteers and there was 100 kids, right? Like 70. So if I had to speak out loud, parents don't show up for the mandated things in the high school. Imagine not volunteering for field trips. But again, that's a build. That's an individual building decision. Moving on to,
No, do we have any
I
other-
don't
do we have any, thank you very much. Do we have anyone else? Do I have a motion to close? Hearing on,
Frank, I'm sorry, I would just like to say something. Oh, maybe you can close and then I can just say a few words.
no, you go ahead.
No, I would just like to take the opportunity to thank Dr. Alfonso for his time spent here in Bogota. I want to wish him the best of luck in this new opportunity that has opened up for him, and to thank him. And he was very much appreciated, and we will all definitely miss him.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's part of a
Agreed.
closed session discussion today. So moving on to, all right, do anyone else? Because I think we're going into that now, right? No one else? Do I have a motion to close?
Olivo.
Ms. Olivo, do I have a second?
Navarro.
Navarro, any board discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Move it on to the executive session portion 15.1. Whereas the C.231 PL 1975, also known as the Sunshine Law, authorizes a public body to meet in executive session or private session under certain limited circumstances. And whereas said law requires the board to adopt a resolution at a public meeting before it can meet in such an executive or private session. Now therefore be it resolved by the Bogota Board of Education that it does hereby determine that it is necessary to meet in executive session on on May 9th, 2023 at approximately 7:22 PM to discuss matters involving negotiations, litigation, personnel, and that the matter discussed will be made public when confidentiality is no longer required and action pursuant to the said discussion shall take place only at a public meeting. Action may or may not be taken upon return from executive session. Is there a motion to approve to move into executive session?
Motion.
Mrs. Rocket, do I have a second?
Navarro.
Mr. Navarro, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll be back at approximately 5 to 10 minutes. Thank you very much.
Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
do I have a motion to open, reopen the meeting?
Olivo.
Rocket Olivo, do I have
Thank you.
a motion to, no, all in favor? Any opposed?
No.
All right, do I have a motion to close, adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Mrs. Rocket, Mr. Chavez, all in favor?
Aye.
Good evening, everyone, and good night.
Right.